Let's bring in Article 3 Project founder and President Mike Davis, along with former federal prosecutor Andrew Cherkasky. Andrew, I ended with you. I begin with you. One thing that jumped out for me, and Andy McCarthy hit on this, the most important thing in this decision is the fact that the courts can no longer basically read into, say, a president's motives. And you can't have a president after the fact, after he leaves office, some underling, some lesser, inferior executive decide what was on a president's mind when he was in office and think that he had corrupt motives. And Andy said, I think 8/10 of lawfare is now gone because of that.
Yeah, I think that the importance of today's decision really talks about the idea of the integrity of the executive, what it means to be the president of the United States and the deference that's given to that position. You bring out a great point that was a bit more nuanced in the decision, the idea that prosecutors will not be able to look into the motives of the president when analyzing whether his acts were or were not within the official scope of the presidency. There's also some other language in there that talks about the idea that they can't look into the personal papers or testimony of not only the president himself, but also the advisors to the president. So I think that's going to be a remarkable kind of piece of all of this as they try to unravel it, as I'm sure Jack Smith will try to bring back at least some of these charges. That fight for immunity, he is going to be prevented from bringing in some of that evidence that would have potentially helped him prove that this was outside the scope of the presidency and could very well mean that the court doesn't have sufficient evidence in order to determine that he can still be prosecuted. So this is a big win for Trump today, and I think will continue to be a win as this progresses through additional litigation.
So, Mike, were you surprised about this ruling? Because it seems like most, fair lawyers who looked at what the court was going to do were going to go, listen, you're president and you're taking official action, you're going to get immunity. If you step outside of that official action and you do private things, you can be prosecuted criminally. Were you surprised by this ruling?
I was not surprised, and I would say this. You have federal judges who are immune both civilly and criminally for their official acts. Members of Congress are immune civilly and criminally for their official acts. Why the heck would the President of the United States not be immune from both civil and criminal prosecution? The Supreme Court established 40 years ago in the Nixon case that presidents are immune from civil prosecution. The Supreme Court has never had to decide about criminal prosecution for the president because we've never had a former president charged until President Biden and Merrick Garland brought this unprecedented lawfare and election interference against President Trump.
I want to move on to this. Unsurprisingly, the Democrats are completely unhinged over the Supreme Court's immunity ruling. New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez posting on X saying that the court has become, quote, consumed by a corruption crisis, and she intends on filing articles of impeachment upon lawmakers' return to Congress. Articles of impeachment against the Supreme Court. This from the woman who has a degree in economics but doesn't know how the unemployment rate is calculated, Andrew Cherkasky. They are unhinged. Stolen valor, Senator Blumenthal was equally unhinged. What are they even talking about?
I see this as purely histrionics and hyperbole. That's what this is. There's nothing wrong with what the Supreme Court did today from the perspective of an impeachment, much less from a perspective of the law. I think that when you pull back the curtain on what happened today, read through the entire case, it's quite apolitical. It's something that looks at what the American president can do, not Donald Trump, but the American president. That's in the past, that's in the present, and that's in the future. Something that has to live throughout the ages. And when you dig deep, it's not as though they declared that the president can never be prosecuted. They have different categories that they're putting this into. This is something that I think that when you look at it from an apolitical perspective, presidents from both sides of the aisle enjoy immunity at this point, but not to the fullest extent that some out there have argued, including former President Trump. So the court took kind of a middle-of-the-road approach, sending this back down to the district court, not taking it the entire way that they could could have. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I think, way overblown on this one.
Way overblown. And again, you look at it in a non-political fashion, that's wonderful, but AOC, the liberal media, other Democrats are political and they're chastising the court. I wonder if that sends a message to Jack Smith, Mike. And he's got cover if he wants to try to pick this thing apart and continue with this prosecution of Donald Trump. What does Jack Smith do moving forward?
I would say to Jack Smith, you have a very bad track record at the Supreme Court. Not only did you lose the Bob McDonnell case unanimously, you also have the Fisher case, which guts 2 of the 4 charges against President Trump. And now with this presidential immunity, there's not much left. I think that Jack Smith may want to look for a new career.
That'd be great. I hope he takes your advice on that. Mike and Andrew, thanks for being with us. We appreciate your legal analysis.
Thank you.